Hello and welcome to another Caseware webinar. Today we'll be covering the latest changes courtesy of the Accounts Advanced EPAC EP40601. This webinar will be presented by Phil Reeves, one of our education and media consultants, and myself, James Wright. I'll be here in the background for you for any questions you might have during the webinar. These will be answered during our live Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So for any of your questions, they can be entered using the Q&A feature shown on screen now. This is for both the desktop and mobile applications. So any queries, pop them on there, and you can also use the chat field to pop across any issues, say if you can't hear us, any technical issues that way. I'll now hand over to Phil Reeves, and he's going to cover the agenda for today. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, James. And thank you guys for attending today's webinar. As James said, we'll be going through the latest updates in EP 40601. If you haven't already installed that, please make sure that you get that installed. There's a lot of important updates on there as we're gonna go through in today's session. You can see on the screen the agenda. So we're going to look at controlling parties, a mixture of entities today. We've got three: an IFRS and FRS 102, and a offshore entity. So a mixture for everyone, regardless of the type of accounts that you will be producing on the software. So we're going to start with the controlling party IXBRL tagging. Now we've made a slight change to the to the financial statements with regards to those of you reporting under 101, 102, 10 or more 101 and 102. But if I just jump into a set of financial statements and into a controlling party note, the first thing you guys are going to notice as a result of this EPAC is a red warning banner at the top. As you can see here, that the controlling party note IXBRL tagging that there is a requirement to tag the controlling party note. And the reason why we've introduced this is the controlling party note has always in Caseware been a manual input note. So you just get a green text area where you manually insert information about your controlling party. Now with that, obviously Caseware hasn't been able to automatically tag the controlling party note at any point. And this has resulted in some instances where some of our clients haven't been applying appropriate tags into the controlling party note. This has obviously been flagged by HMRC and has obviously resulted in them needing to come back in and apply the appropriate tags to the controlling party note. So what we've done is introduce just an icon or a warning message just to provide you with a reminder almost to ensure that the IXBRL tagging has been applied to the controlling party note. So obviously this will only appear if you turn on this particular note. But if I click on the message, you can see that it will say, please note that if your entity is part of a group, you must manually apply additional tags for information which are relevant within the following sections of the taxonomy, notes and detailed disclosures related party. So it just gives you a little bit more information about what you need to do. Now, in terms of the tags that are required, we've got an example. If I just jump back into our PowerPoint, this is just a similar example to the one we've got on the screen of tags that you might need to include. So things like the name of the ultimate parent of the group, the name of the parent entity, so the name of the ultimate parent of the group if that isn't the parent entity, and then some information about the parent of the smallest group or the parent of the largest group. So things like the country of incorporation, the address, and the name of that parent. Now, in terms of how that would be applied within Caseware, we need to consider what we would need to, or the setup, not just the actual tagging process, but the setup that you would need to do in the controlling party note to be able to tag that information. Now, I've already set one up in this file. We've got the immediate parent undertaking, the ultimate parent undertaking, some information about the smallest and the largest groups. Now, when it comes to applying these tags, we wouldn't be able to apply the tag to the entire paragraph. What you would need to first do is just go through and create some appropriate cells within the controlling party note. So we got here a cell for obviously the immediate parent undertaking, the ultimate parent undertaking, the name of the parent of the smallest group, We've got the address. We've also got the country. We'll explain why that's blank in a moment. And we've got the same for the largest. Now, to create these cells, just for those of you, if you haven't already done this before, you need to go into enable editing. Enable editing is password protected. So if you haven't got the password, then please speak to a super user at your firm, just to they should have access to the password. Unfortunately, we can't give that out on this webinar. But once we're in enable editing, we can go to the insert button at the top of the screen. And from here, we have the option to insert cells. So we would just go, if I was to create a cell for this RS Transport Limited, I'd go to the cell button. That would then pop up with a screen asking me to enter the cell number. Now, in terms of your cell numbers, there is a case where recommendation that the cells start with the letters USX. The reason for this is that we want to avoid the default cell numbers provided within the standard template. So, for example, the balance sheet will have the cells within the balance sheet start with USX. The cells within the balance sheet start with BS1, BS2, BS3. Within the debtors note, they'll start with D. And you'll notice that different notes will have different cell numbers depending on the note that you're in, but none of them will contain the cell number USX. So we use that for any custom cells that we create, and then we follow that up with a corresponding number. So you can see I've already got USX 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I could just go and create USX 9 if I needed to. Click OK. And then obviously in this case, we need to make sure that we use the correct cell type. So we've got different cell types at the top: numeric, alphanumeric, date. In this case, with controlling parties, it's very unlikely that it will be anything other than a alphanumeric cell. So we're just going to select alphanumeric, and then we would just click OK. We may want to make that an input cell. So we can type, as I have here, that will give you the blue outline around it. Or you can populate your information into the calculation field here. If you're unsure and want a bit more details on inserting cells, then please feel free to drop us a message in the chat and we can get something sent over to you after this webinar. But once you've inserted the cells in enable editing, in terms of tagging, again, for those of you, if you haven't already tagged the controlling party note before, we can go into tools at the top of the screen, not to be confused with the tools on the top of the blue toolbar, but tools at the very top, go to XBRL, and we can go to tags. Now, before we do this, we just want to make sure that we have applied a taxonomy. So within the XBRL tab of the blue toolbar, we just want to make sure we've selected a taxonomy in here. So 2021 UKFRS 102 is the taxonomy you've selected, and we've applied the tags already, as you can see on the right-hand side. It says that the document was tagged a couple of weeks ago. We can then go to XBRL and we can go to tags. This will pick up the appropriate taxonomy. You can see it's XBRL frc.org.uk, but specifically referring to FRS 102 because that's the taxonomy we selected at the top. You can then click OK. And you can see that this will load up the document tagging window. So this will allow us to manually tag the different areas of this note that we need to tag. I'll just give that a second to load in. There we go. And we can, you can see there's a load of tags in here for various different pieces of information. There's different roles, sections. As the guidance suggested, if I click back on here, we need to go within the notes and detailed disclosures section and specifically within related parties. So if I click the roles drop down, you can see notes and detailed disclosures. And within all of these tags, there is a section for related parties. Now, one thing we don't expect you guys to have to do is scroll through and find the appropriate related party section. It just takes ages to look for all of these tags. But what you can do is if you're holding down Shift and select the minus button on the left-hand side, and then continue holding down Shift and just press the plus icon. Oh, sorry. Gone too soon. Hold down Shift, press the minus button, then release Shift, press the plus icon, and you can see that will highlight only the main categories for each of the tagging sections. So we're within notes and detailed disclosures. We can then locate related parties. And within here, we can see that we've got relationships between entity and parent. And within here, we've got all those tags that I previously mentioned. So the name of the parent entity, the name of the ultimate parent of the group. And it'd just be a case of selecting a cell. So for example, we've got the name of the parent entity. We'd go to the name of the parent entity tag, and then we would just select the tag button to apply that particular tag. Now, it's pretty straightforward. You've got the parent of the largest group, parent of the smallest group within individual subsections. Now, I mentioned it earlier that we've got a blank cell for the UK. Again, just something to be aware of. The UK or the country that the smallest or the parent of the smallest group was incorporated is actually a tagged, or is defined as a tag is a tag defined as being a 0 length tag in the taxonomy. So it's not expecting any text or any information within that particular tag. So what we would essentially do is, rather than having the UK within the cell, we would create the cell out, having absolutely nothing in there, and then we would create a type dimension, a dimensional context for the information to tell HMRC that this is a parent undertaking incorporated in the UK. So just to give you an idea of how that works, we go down to the country in which the parent of the largest group is incorporated tag. We can right click, we can go to new dimensional context, and then when the screen loads up, you can see that it will allow us to select the appropriate country and region. So I could go through the big long list of all the various different countries that it shows until I find the UK, and then apply that particular tag, or create that context and then apply that tag to the cell. Again, if anyone's unsure, obviously don't want to spend too much time going through tagging, but anyone's unsure of that, please feel free to get in touch. Once you've gone through and you've applied the appropriate tags, we can select either the icon at the top or the question mark here for the IEXBRL tagging warning. And then we can tick here to confirm these additional tags have been applied. So that's just you confirming that you are happy that these tags have been applied. Caseware's not going to run a check on this. It's just going, okay, you're happy with what you've done, and it will remove that warning message. So again, please make sure that you check that everything you're expecting to be tagged is tagged before you go through, and just mark that off either at the top of the screen or via the question mark icon. So that was just a bit on the tagging. We're now going to jump into our next point, which is offshore submissions to HMRC. So this is just a quick point with the release of the new EPAC. Previously, companies needed to have a UK company registration number, or if they were an offshore entity, they'd need a UK company registration number in order to use the IEXBRL tagging mechanism within Caseware to file a set of accounts to HMRC. With this release of the new EPAC so we're in a Jersey set of accounts here, just to show you offshore investment holdings, Jersey company. But now what we've done in the company details section, we've just got a little note that says that a company not registered in the UK may be required to submit IEXBRL tagged accounts to HMRC. If it doesn't have a UK company registration number, you can now use your company's UTR, unique taxpayer reference, in order to submit this set of accounts to HMRC. So to do that, we just select the radio button or the tick box on the right hand side, and then we just need to provide our HMRC UK taxpayer reference in the input cell provided. So again, that wouldn't have been available until this latest EPAC. So again, if that works, or if that is relevant for your entity, please make sure you take the EPAC update, and especially take the updates to the wizard to be able to pull through this new section. Now, our third point today is just looking at IFRS table layouts. So what we want to, or what we've done as a result of feedback from clients is we've just made a slight tweak or change to the disclosure of mainly the tangible, the trade receivables and trade payable notes, or trade and other receivables, trade and other payables notes within the IFRS template. So again, this is an IFRS set of accounts. For those of you who have used this template before will know that previously the layout would have been such that you had trade receivables less any provisions to give you the net trade receivables. Working down, we would then have had a section for that we would have reduced the current portion from the total to then give you the total current and non-current values. One thing being that obviously because we're reducing the current portion, that would show often shows a negative in this table. Now, as a result of the feedback and some of the changes that our development team have made, what you'll now get in the question mark icon at the top of the notes is an option for the layout. So different from the original question mark where you could have gone through and disclosed fair value or shown the movement in the impairment allowance. We've introduced a new question mark above that that will allow you to adjust the layout of this particular note. So what it will allow you to do, if I select that particular question mark icon, is that previously we had the analysis of total trade and other receivables with non-current balances then subtracted underneath. But now you can have a separate analysis of non-current and current balances, which is recommended if the entity has only current trade and other receivables. That's obviously a recommendation. You can choose to trigger this if you want to anyway. So we select the alternative radio button and exit. And just give that a moment to load through. Obviously, it's tweaking the table slightly within the background. And now what we get is a non-current table and down to total, obviously non-current, and then a current table. So obviously trade receivables net, and then the breakdown of prepayments, other receivables, etc. So it's just a slightly cleaner view for those of you that would prefer to have a separate table for the non-current trade and other receivables, and then the current element. We've now introduced that via the layout option at the top. Obviously, you still have the same control. So if I was looking at the second table and I didn't want the split of the trade and receivables net, then I can still go through and I can still hide subtotals or show subheadings if I need to, using the appropriate buttons within the table tab of the toolbar. Again, if that's something you're not familiar with, please feel free to drop something in the chat, and James and myself will get some information about showing and hiding subtotals across to you. Now, this specific change will also allow you to print a table header between non-current and current sections. So that is essentially where we've got 2021 and 2020. If I tick to print that table header, you can see that'll pull through that table header now at the top. These are merely there for obviously information. Blue text doesn't print, so don't expect to see such a large gap when we go through into print preview. We can also, if we need to, insert a page break between the non-current and the current section. So obviously, depending on how your pages will lay out in the financial statements, you may also want to include a page break. These changes are also applicable, as we saw, or as I've already mentioned, within the trade and other payables note. So we still have the option. I've already applied it in here. We've got non-current and we've got current. Again, all you would do is go to the question mark icon and select the appropriate layout, depending on which one you prefer. That layout will roll forward, obviously, when you roll forward the file into 20. So in this case, 2021 files, when we roll forward to 2022, that same option will remain selected. Again, if anyone has any questions on that, please feel free to drop them into the question field. So just going to spend some time to go through some of the sundry changes. Those three are the main changes, obviously quite helpful for offshore submissions. That new layout within the IFRS template can be can also be something that a lot of our clients have requested, so may be useful to you guys. But some sundry changes, things you need to be aware of that aren't humongous changes within the template, but again, things that you can trigger or you may see that are slightly different on your financial statements. Now, starting with just a quick change to the company law. So this is a result of Brexit. So yeah, don't hear a lot about it anymore, but obviously the changes to the laws have come into effect. So for any entities with a period start date after the 1st of January 2021, so we're looking at entities obviously basically now December 2021 year end dates, there will be a slight change in aspects that mention the company law. So previously, or in this instance, we got the exemptions from preparing consolidated financial statements. And as you can see, it will now say that the company is a parent company that is also a subsidiary included in the consolidated financial statements, etc., under the law of part of the United Kingdom, or if it's outside of the UK, a state other than the United Kingdom. Previously, that would have referred to an EEA state or a non-EEA state. So a minor change, but something you guys will need to be aware of. It will now refer to the United Kingdom specifically when referring to company law. So that is applicable, as we've mentioned, to entities with a year start date after the 1st of January 2021, obviously when Brexit came into full effect. Another change is to do with FRS 101 exemptions. So in the big long list that you guys, for those of you that do produce 101s, I'm sure you're all aware of, on the start section of the wizard, you've got your list of exemptions. With the release of this new EPAC, there is a new exemption that has been introduced, and that you can also take advantage of. So it's the requirements of paragraph 74A, section B of the International Accounting Standard 16. So again, if you guys feel free to go and have a look at the requirements of paragraph 74A, section B of that particular standard. I'm not entirely sure as to what that exemption is for, but that has now been introduced into the list of exemptions that you can take within the start section of the wizard. Obviously, if it is applicable to your company, just tick the box on the right hand side, and that will bring that through as part of the exemption section of the accounting policies. Now, and last but not least, quite a big one in terms of those that are producing directors' reports, and you are including your own extra sections. So previously, when you create an extra section within the director's report, it would have needed to be manually turned off within the small filing copies, or if you're producing an Irish set of accounts, in the abridged version of the accounts. As a result of this update, we've now introduced a skip condition. So very similar to the rest of the director's report, any extra sections that you include will now be automatically hidden within the abridged or small filing copy set of the accounts. Now, one thing to be aware of, and this is quite important, is that this will apply to any future sections that are created. So for your existing sections, you may wish to quickly recreate those just by, again, creating a new extra section and just making a slight change or putting the text back in, and then this new update will apply to those sections that you've created. Again, any more, if anyone requires any more information on that, please feel free to drop something in the chat field. Myself and James can get some more information if you need to, but I'm sure for those of you that do create extra report sections in the director's report, this will be quite a helpful update that has been introduced. So are the main sections of the EPAC. If anyone's unsure or wants to see a full rundown of the EPAC, you can access that via the webinar. You can access via the knowledge base. You can download the EPAC, and on downloading, So if you have access to the download area within accounts, EPAC EP40601, we do include details on what has been included in the EPAC. So you'll also get that via if you do receive the EPAC emails, you'll have information about what's included. So all the other minor sundry changes, whether that be changes to wording and things like that we haven't mentioned within this EPAC. So feel free to have a read of that. I'm now going to pass you back to James for any questions that we might have.
Perfect, thank you, Phil. Yes, we did get one question in just now for the end section there. That was on it was just asking about the FRS 101 exemptions. They're saying that these are not editable for the syntax and formatting within the accounts themselves. Can these be made editable as has been done on the lease policy note?
It's definitely something that we can pass on to the development team. I'm not going to say that it's going to be made editable, but I can pass that on as an enhancement request.
Perfect. Okay, so to round up the session for today, we're just going to go through the upcoming webinars. We've got them scheduled until May the 5th, so there are more on our website, caseware.co.uk/events. But of course, these are the next ones coming up. So the 13th and the 14th, we've got 2 more release webinars going over the corp tax update and of course quite a big one, the working papers 2021 release as well. Moving on to the website itself, that's what it looks like. That's the Caseware events page on the website if you didn't know how to navigate to it. It's independent of the KB site, of course, so just remember that there. And you can also find us on the Caseware Client Services LinkedIn page, so give us a follow there. We post mainly education and media content there, so upcoming webinars and reminders, that things along those lines. And we also have our YouTube channel as well, so we post all of our quick vids and previous webinars to the YouTube channel as well. So go ahead and give us a subscribe there. You can also comment on there as well, so that's another way of getting in contact with us. If you've got any questions, you can comment against the video you've been watching. And then, wonderful. And as always, we have the KB site for any issues that you have. Just pop your question in there on the search function, as well as there's also a live chat function there, so you can speak with one of our representatives. And as Phil was just highlighting there, there's the download area to install this latest EPAC update. If you don't have access to this download area, or it's not shown on your screen, it's probably because you don't have the required permissions against your account to access that. Normally what we tend to suggest is speak to a manager. A lot of the time the managers will have the required permissions, and if you still don't have any permissions or don't know who has them, just get in contact with our support team and they can inform you as to who has the permissions, and we can set you up with permissions yourself that way as well. Perfect. So to round off, the last slide there, Phil. Wonderful, perfect. So yeah, to round off for today, thank you very much for joining us. If you have any other issues, just let us know, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.